Welcome to the Zen Zone. Zen Lee here. We are going to get into it today. Which is the best racing PEV? My opinions on having seen e-scooters, eSk8, and EUC. Maybe some Onewheels in there. They're really, I would like to include them on the list, but they're kind of only going to be competitive against EUC in an off-road sort of race, a single track type of race where you're not hitting super high speeds. They might still be competitive, but as far as asphalt races go, they are pretty much not going to be competitive on any circuit against the e-scooters, eSk8, and e-bikes, right? They just aren't there. That's not to say they're bad. And guys, if my opinions offend you, please work on yourself. Find some healthy foods, do some exercise, lose some weight, meditate. My opinions should not trigger you so much that you kick me out of groups, that you try to get dealers to come after me and not send me wheels, try to sabotage my affiliate sales. It's crazy to me. I lightly criticize someone after complimenting. I highlighted the strengths, highlighted their weaknesses, and yeah, that was too much for them. They kicked me out of the group. Also, check your estrogen levels. Maybe they're a little high. There's no reason you should be so upset about my opinions. They are my opinions. They mean nothing unless there's something inside of you that they're hitting. And maybe, man, I'm criticized all the time, guys. I've been criticized. Look at some of my comments. They're downright mean. Doesn't hurt me at all. I'll even pin some of them because it's like the pin of shame, right? And if they do hurt me, I look inside. I'm like, okay, maybe I do need to work on this. Maybe I do need to self-improve. It seems to be like a rare trait these days. Like I feel almost special in some ways. It's not to sound egoic, but like the ability to, if something triggers me, to look inside, figure out why it triggered me, and maybe I need some self-improvement myself. That's something I love about EUCs, PEVs in generals. You're out there, on the EUC by yourself, riding. You get time to meditate and reflect. That's what I love about it. There's so many things I love about it, but this is about racing, what I think is the top PEV racing based off my experience as one of the first racers in the world. Back in the days of Apple Valley 1, we used to do a thing where, everybody competed in their own categories, and then the top guy from each category raced in a finals of all the PEVs. The EUC versus the e-bike versus the trike. There were trikes, which I don't know if those are too popular anymore. In Spain, what was popular was the e-scooters, and they were pretty much beating us in the races by a significant margin. In the off-road races too, which actually surprised me. The problem with e-scooters on off-road tracks is they really just destroy the tracks. The amount of torque they're generating and the smaller tires, they just destroy the tracks. But with that extra tire, they were beating us significantly. I think that is about to change with the improvement of EUCs is accelerating thanks to begode and their 210 volt wheels and other wheels coming out that are updated technology. EUCs, I think, out of all of the PEVs, is advancing the fastest. So I expect that EUCs will be at the top probably in the next few years against e-bikes and e-scooters. Maybe, pound for pound. If you're getting into like a high-speed, super high-speed circuit, I think the e-bikes and scooters will win, especially the e-bikes, the bigger tires, more traction, and yeah, it's a lot easier to ride. I'm not saying these aren't skilled riders. The ones in Spain were extremely skilled e-scooter riders. Honestly, I haven't seen too many e-bike racers yet. I think that is coming up with the TEF1, now has an e-bike category. I think that could be huge in the future, but I would definitely like to see the top 3 guys from each category move on if the times are close. If we do this and e-bikes and e-scooters are still like 3 to 5 seconds ahead, then I don't think it's going to be an exciting race. But if they're within 1 second of each other, I would definitely like to see a race, to see who comes out on top, to see. That's one thing I've determined that I love about racing almost the most, besides the chance to test yourself, is to test the capabilities of the PEV, of the wheel. to see, you know, how does this actually stack up? How do our best riders stack up against these other PEV riders? Again, the e-scooters are super fast in Spain, and USA, I don't think we have enough of them to really have a competitive team. Maybe that will change in the future if PEV racing becomes more mainstream. And I think that having them race against each other, having all the PEVs race against each other in this finals would make for some viral footage, and it would bring more fans in. More fans equals more sponsors, equals more like publicity, more viral videos. It would be amazing for the racing scene for everybody. The scooters, the e-bikes, EUCs, maybe even the Onewheels in the future. Right now, I just don't believe they're competitive with the advances in technology for all three of these things. E-bikes, haven't seen too many of them, but again, I think they're coming up at TEF1. I'm curious to know what your guys' experience with racing any of these is. Do the e-bikes and e-scooters have a chance against the EUCs, vice versa, right? Does the EUC have a chance against the two-wheeled vehicles? They definitely have the advantage in terms of throttle and it's not as athletic as an experience with the e-bike and e-scooter. I'm not saying it's not difficult, but I mean, the throttle is just a button you squeeze. And even the e-skates, man, they just squeeze the button and they go. So on the starts, if it's not a rolling start and it's a standing start, all the other categories have an advantage over an EUC, because with the current specs we have as EUC, we tend to have to, you know, you stand up, get your balance, then lean forward. It's not stand up, pull a button, and go. It's not that simple. It takes a lot more effort. This accelerations on EUC, you can tell who's a good EUC rider by their accelerations, how quick their muscle memory gets up on that pedal and they accelerate. But even the best riders, they're going to not be as competitive when all the other racers have to do is pull a brake or a button. And it's the same with the braking, right? All they have to do is squeeze. Whereas the EUC, you have to lean back. You have to get your weight down. It's not as simple as the small movements of pulling your finger, right? It takes a lot more muscle endurance. It is a much more difficult full body experience. Whereas e-bike, you're sitting down, so you're just chilling, pulling some buttons. It's like playing a video game. You're not. I'm not saying, I haven't actually done it, so I don't know. But I've ridden e-bikes before, and the Surons and whatnot, they don't take a lot of effort to race. So the only athleticism is really in your fingers, and your leaning does, you know, you do have to lean, maybe some of the knee grinds. I've seen scooters knee grind. That does take some skill, and I've only seen the Spain riders kind of do the knee drag on their scooters in Spain, and those guys are insane, man. They have some super powerful scooters. Again, I think the EUCs are catching up to them. It'll be an exciting future. I'm curious if you guys would actually like to see a PEV race. You know, I don't know how we would categorize it, like by weight class as far as the wheel. You know, like the Oryx weighs 120 pounds. Most EUCs are under 100 pounds. So the e-scooter and e-bikes would also have to be under that weight. In Spain, how they did it, you know, even the scooters there was 3 different categories of scooters. So I feel like the EUC would fall into one of those categories of, you know, the weight. We would put the lighter scooters against the lighter EUCs. They have their own category, which would be cool because we get to see some of the 16-inch wheels and some of the lighter wheels compete against some of the smaller scooters that don't weigh so much. So let's say, for example, category A is 20 pounds to 40 pounds, and category B is 40 pounds to 60 pounds, etc. Right? I think you get the point I'm trying to make here. We divide into weight categories. So it's not only EUCs versus EUCs, but we actually just put everybody into just a weight category. Whatever PEV you want to ride, put it into a weight category. I'm curious, and I really believe this would be successful. And I still remember Apple Valley 1, 4 years ago, they had this sort of thing, and it wasn't competitive then. I think the Trike actually was the one that got first place. I think that the Trike beat eSk8 and EUC. EUC was last place. There was only 3 categories, and EUC was last place, so yeah. But we've come a long ways with suspension, our voltage, our power. It is awesome to behold the significant changes in EUC, and I hope we continue to progress. I feel like we need super slick tires, sticky tires. The suspension's there. I think the suspension doesn't really need to be improved much, you know, with the Leapercam suspension, the new begode suspension. I feel like that's perfect, that's peak. The torque is what we need, more torque, so we're not having to lean as far forward. I really want a wheel that just has this instantaneous torque, and I have not felt it yet. The Patton S had an amazing amount of torque. Some of the smaller wheels, like, they have an amazing amount of torque, but they fall off in a top speed. I really want a big wheel like the Oryx, for example, that has a lot of torque where it's just almost effortless to go. These are my opinions, guys. I hope they don't offend you depending on what you're riding. And if they do, let me know why. Maybe I need some more self-improvement. I'm always trying to self-improve. I'm really not trying to trigger you. I'd like to create engaging content. And if I'm just positive all the time and just don't look at any of the negatives of anything, then it just feels like I'm just a sycophant, like trying to glaze, you know, everybody instead of just being real, right? I like it when people are real, not just kissing my butt because they want to get a wheel from me. A lot of the guys, or the guy that just blocked me, like, a lot of people are defending him because he gives them wheels, you know, he lets them review wheels. So, all right, guys, that's my tangent. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Your likes, your comments, your support mean everything to me. Your discount code ZENZONE gets you 5% off at one ride if you are in Europe on scooters, on EUCs, on gear. Really helps me out as well. And then eWheels, Alien Rides, Pit Zoom, discount code ZENZONE. Until next time, stay in ZENZONE.